What's up, Vertical? Pastor Jesse here with our Made for This Initiatives Week 3. And again, I just want to be encouraging you. God right now is handing us people on a silver platter. Right now, people's lives are being shaken. People's securities are being taken away. And I've said this a lot, but I'm going to continue to say this. I don't ever remember a time in my life where God has been ripening people like he has been right now. And as a church, we want to be doing everything we can to reach people for the lost, to glorify God by loving people and making disciples. And so we want to do that intentionally. And again, we can't always do all of these events and programs right now just because of the COVID and things like that. But instead, we want to be, as a church, fitting things in that God has called us to do as the church into our daily rhythms of life. And so we've come up with, just a list of initiatives that we want to do, or hopefully to practically be able to do in your day-to-day life. So we've already covered a couple of them. I'm going to be covering the memory verse here in a second, but I want to kind of cover the next two initiatives that we're looking at this week. And the first one is to take 6 weeks, so this week and then going forward, at the end of the 6 weeks, I'm going to be giving a gospel call. I'm going to give a message on the gospel of Jesus Christ. We all need that all the time. But it is going to be a Sunday where we really want to be inviting people. But leading up to that, we want to take 6 weeks and pray for a specific family or person in your life that you want to be investing in. And so to this week, pick that person. Ask the Lord to lay on you somebody who you need to be praying for, and not just waiting until the end of the 6 weeks to invite, but praying for and start inviting to church, start inviting to life group, start inviting over to your house for dinner or something like that. But be intentional about connecting with this person and praying for this person or family so that at the end of 6 weeks, you can invite them, and you can invite them to church before that, but we really want to see people come to this Sunday. And the second initiative is September 10th and 11th, like I talked about on Saturday. We are going to be doing a 24 hours of prayer. We have done this before. We're going to continue to do it again, where we sign up for an hour of prayer or 2 hours of prayer, or however, kind of throughout the day. We'll send that out and people can fill the hours so that we're praying for this coming fall, this coming ministry year, and lifting up the church. So, set aside some time, the 10th and 11th. But as part of that, we also want to be praying specifically for people around us. And so the next initiative is to go to a neighbor or coworker or a family member or somebody and hopefully more than that, you can go to a couple people and ask them, say, listen, our church is doing a 24 hours of prayer. I have signed up for this hour. Part of that hour is going to be praying for my neighbors and coworkers. How can I pray for you? And just get a list from people of how you can be praying for them. And we're going to set aside probably 25 to 30 minutes of our hour praying for these people around us. And so start thinking about who you want to invite to that. But that's week 2 made for this. Hopefully you have one of these at home. If not, we have it on our website or Facebook and things like that. And we'll have more of these. But keep these in front of you. And we really want to be people who understand that we were made for a season like this. But along with the first initiative that we've been talking about and continue to do, and that's each week we're going to be sending out a memory verse that we can use to memorize as a church and to use to encourage our own soul. But then we want to be intentionally using this verse to encourage somebody outside of our church family. And when we apply it to our own life and memorize it to our own life and then start to think, okay, Lord, this is a way that it really encouraged me. I bet I could find somebody else to encourage in that way. And we want to be intentionally doing that. So the verse this week is found in Matthew 11. And this verse was reminded to me by a book called Lowly and Gentle, or Gentle and Lowly, that I just started reading, and it has been fantastic. But Matthew 11, 28 through 30 says this: "Come to me, all who labor are heavy laden. I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart. You will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." And man, that's a verse that doesn't take long for us to apply to our soul, because a lot of us right now we feel that labor that we've been doing, the heavy laden thing. That heavy laden is kind of the idea of things going on around us that have just laid a burden on our shoulders, and I think a lot of us feel that. And he says, and come to me and I will give you rest. And Jesus isn't talking about physical rest, but he's talking about soul satisfying rest. And that's a rest that I don't think we realize how much we actually need it. And he uses this idea of a yoke. He says, take my yoke on you. And a yoke is something that you wear, or that cattle would wear alongside of one another to pull a plow. They would saddle up together and go for it. But a yoke is actually pretty hard. And it would actually cause an extra burden. But Jesus is kind of using this in a semi-ironic way. And he says, take my yoke upon you and learn from me. And so basically what he's saying is you put your yoke and walk with me. So we're learning from Jesus. He says, learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart. You see what Jesus is talking about there is he's saying that is who he is. That is, in essence, he is gentle and lowly, the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, somebody who sits on a throne high above all things, who is ruler over all things, and he says that he is gentle and lowly. Why? Because he wants to connect with us. Because that's who he is, and that's the reason God is able to, or Jesus is able to come down and die on our behalf. He gives up heaven to take our place on the cross. Why? Because he's gentle and lowly in heart. And he says, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. And man, I can't tell you how many times I've needed to be reminded of this verse in the last couple of months, and it has come up again even this week as I was reading this book, and it was such a good reminder that the only place that my soul is going to find a deep rest and a yoke that is easy and that lightens the burden, even as I take on a yoke, is in the person of Jesus, and just resting in his promises and learning to live in a gentle and lowly way like he does, so that we can find our rest in him. And it's also a great verse that we can use as people. You see people who are heavy laden and burdened and just trying to figure out how to make it in this life. And this is a great verse to show them, hey, Jesus is going to meet you where you're at. He tells us that he is gentle and lowly, and that if you want to find a deep rest that nothing else can provide, you need Jesus. And this is a verse that can be used in a myriad of ways. So I'd encourage you to use it. Matthew 11, 28 through 30, and be memorizing it as you get opportunities to use this and pray for people, encourage people. Again, I want to know. Tell me about it. I want to hear about how God is using this in other people's lives so I can celebrate you or celebrate with you. But along with that, Vertical Church, you are loved. Go in peace.